What is up, guys? I'm Mike.
And I'm Luke.
And today we are back to reassess our meta predictions for OP09 using, of course, our data. This is our meta recap. We go and we scratch through all the data we get our hands on. Thanks to Eggman Events, of course, for most of it, as always, for collating all that. Really,
for not all of it, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I have to go limitless typically for European ones, but we were in national season, and national season means there's just nationals, and Eggman got that shit on lock, you know?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so we go through all the major official events, or, you know, it doesn't be major, like, as long as they're, like, mattering in terms of, like, long term. So the store championships, we grab those. The store TCs, we grab those. In this case, it's TCs, and it's all the nationals events that went on over the last couple of weeks. We're gonna break down all the top cut finishes and turn that into reasonable data of what you can expect when it comes to selecting your deck for the format. And of course, updating our tier list.
Yes. Updating the tier list.
Hold
That
on.
would be the fun part. So
Hold on, just one little correction I can make before we get into things. There you go. Yeah, hold on. Zoro, please. Zoro, stand down. Stand down, Zoro, stand down. Finally, God, it's that Conqueror's hockey at work.
I didn't think it was gonna actually move. It's funny.
Gotta believe. You gotta believe. Starting with. I think I have these in order, if not mostly in order.
Yeah.
What was the first OP09 major event? The delayed, rescheduled booster box online treasure.
Wow, what a tournament, huh?
Which was supposed to be an 08
This
tournament.
was an 08, yeah. This was
and
an
then
08,
it got pushed to 09.
Yes.
So we get to look at it now.
About 2 or 3 weeks after its event was right? Am I crazy?
I don't blame them.
Sure.
There were circumstances.
I heard that it was better run this time.
Good. Happy to hear.
Yeah.
We actually have registration data for this one. I think we only had 2 events for registration data, so we do have conversion rates later in the video. You times this down below, which is always looking at like if X people bring this deck to an event, how many of those people converted, and what's your percentage chance of making top cut typically based on that. Love those rates, of course, as usual. Publish the data, Bandai. For this event, of course, Shanks took the first major event of OP09. Congratulations.
Thank you. I always believed. I've always believed for a lot of Shanks things for like a lot of years. So, this is not the video for it, but So
we got 143 Shanks in the event, which I believe was the second most. Yeah, second most registered deck.
Yes.
3 of them made top 32. 1 of those went on top 16, and of course that one went on to win it all. Yeah, definitely open format. Of course, Dovi 231, the expected like de facto, not necessarily best deck, but most consistent deck. It feels like very much the Lucci of last format, where it's like you're gonna see the most of these in top cut, but then you're gonna have like 2 copies of BY Luffy, for example, where it's like you just auto lose to these, and there's 2 of these in top cuts. You're getting eaten alive, you know.
Yeah. And it feels like this was a week or 2 into the new format, right? So this was...
I think this was not release week, but the week after.
This was rather fresh for a lot of people, so that might have also factored into the deck choices that people considered when going into this event. So that's something also to bear in mind. I think the more familiar players got with these decks, with this format, definitely carried over into the later events.
Yeah,
right?
and so what we see here is 231 registered Dovi players, 13 in top 32, 7 of them top 16. Really good conversion from 32 to 16 there. Honestly, considering some of them had to play each other. And then 4 in the top 8, and of course losing it out to Shanks.
Yeah, that's great.
Blackbeard showed up at his first event with 79 and 0 top cuts. I think was like one of the most surprising things.
That's very surprising, but also very not surprising, I think, Mike, because like I said, like a lot of players are coming off the heels of this set just got released. They have to build this deck. They have to make sure that they have the games under the belt with that deck for it to convert well. However, when it comes to like, I don't know, Shanks, right? It's relatively straightforward. It's a relatively straightforward deck. It's easy to kind of jam games with, whereas with Blackbeard, you have to have a little bit more tight consistency, or at least know what you're doing, right? So.
I think for me, I'm not surprised that it didn't take a big portion. I'm surprised that it did 0. I would have said like 2 Blackbeards the first week, because my prediction was, and still is, that it's like, it's not just a control deck, which obviously gets better as the format gets more defined and it goes on, but it's a stun deck.
Yeah.
So it also needs to like predict the metagame, and week 1, week 2 is when people are going to playing the most diverse decks, even if it isn't correct, because they're like, I'm going to try to prey on people not knowing stuff and play something I really enjoy. So the fact that they got like 0 to me is interesting. Also because outside the Laboons, like it's pretty cheap to make coming out of 09.
Ridiculously cheap,
Yeah. And also by the same factor of like, you don't know what you're doing, lots of other people, there are people who definitely have been grinding Blackbeard for like months now online, do know how to play it. And then there's people who have just no idea playing into it, right?
Yeah.
So for me, that was surprising. Lucci, 65, 2 in the top 32, 1 in top 16, and no progression beyond that. But Lucci is still here.
This doesn't surprise me. This is one of those things that don't surprise me, as well as the next one. So.
Well, yeah, I've been trying to tell Dean, it ain't Jover till it's Jover. BY Luffy, 25 registered, 2 in the top 32. That's a crazy conversion rate.
Yep.
That's OP01 red-green law numbers right there.
Was that an 8% conversion rate?
I don't have it for this exact event.
Yeah.
I can find out. I can find out for you
basically,
right now.
like it's like
Here, I can find out for you right
times
now.
4, right?
I can find out for you right now. Wow, exactly 8%. Nice.
Nice conversion.
Nice. Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty sick.
Yeah.
P. Luffy, 142, 9 in top 32, 4 in top 16, 2 in top 8, and then Peter's out from there. Bonnie, 31 with 1 in top 32, and it went all the way to top 8. So like to get the 1 all the way through is pretty crazy. I now 33 registered, 0 through the top cut. Nami, 25 registered, 0 through the top cut. PB Luffy, 21 with 0. RP Luffy, 22 with 0. Smoker, now Smoker is technically part of other, so we had 124 other decks registered. We know there's at least 2 Smokers. There's nothing reported. It seems 20 or under. But because 2 of them made the top 32 and 1 made the top 16, I broke that out. So we have 122 other. I feel like they would have put it on from the data point if it was at least 20. So let's say it's 19. So there could be up to 19 Smokers with 2 making it. I feel like it's closer, probably like 12 or 10.
Yeah, that seems like a bonkers conversion. That one guy just happens to know what they're
Two
doing.
guys, though. Two.
2 guys happen to know what they're doing, but the one knew more.
One knew slightly better.
And
what
something
was
I also
going
want
on.
to point out here is that we had 33 Anel submissions, right? And we got 0 wins all across the board. And it feels like those Anel players were looking for the Doflamingos.
Totally.
But look at every other deck that was registered here. It loses into every other deck.
Yeah,
that's formatted.
Dofi isn't even like 50%. Like we're coming out of formats where like Lucci was like 40 to 45% of the registration sometimes. This isn't even close to that. So your feeding pool is much lower.
Yeah.
Especially when you're gonna have decks like Shanks out there, which in my opinion, you can tell me as the NL and Shanks player. Feel like that's a hard matchup for NL. Feel like they populate too many large bodies too easily.
Yeah, it feels really, really hard, especially with what the Anel has kind of evolved into. So it's interesting to see this. It's interesting to see that people are like, I want to make this meta call because I know that there's going to be a lot of Doflamingo players out there. But then watching them kind of just drown in pools, basically.
Don't worry, I played them all. I played them all like always. That's, that's how they always get their kicks in. Moving on, we have the Bandai Card Fest Last Chance Qualifier. So this was the last chance they registered to get in for Nationals. So yeah, I mean, very limited data pool, but we see the inverse flipping out, Shanks falling away, Dovi staying at this high margin, continuing the 50. I think what's interesting is continuing the 50% splits forward is really interesting. And now, of course, some of these decks are falling more to the wayside. We have Bonnie trying to eat up some of these interesting players and trying to also like dodge the Lucci and then eat up the other big decks that go big as well. Nami finding some play here with lack of Blackbeard in the format, as people thought there'd be a lot more of in this part of the game. And also Lucci falling a little bit to the wayside. Yeah. Definitely gives us some help. And RP Luffy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I believe this deck. Obviously, we haven't done too much content on. We haven't done too much of that stuff yet. As we want to evolve into this channel, like diving in on like more deck play. But definitely we go check out Eggman's videos, just glazing Eggman up on this one, because he's done a lot of really good content, both informational and just gameplay on this deck. He's a true believer in it.
Really, really good foundation.
Yeah, it's really good in a lot of different situations. Bandai Card Fest Nationals, of course, do not have registration data. Why give us the registered decks for the most important English event of the year?
Yeah.
Why do that, Bandai? Why? Shanks with 4 in the top 32, going to 1 and 16 and falling off from there. Dofi 11 in the top 32, going to 4. This is the biggest fall off for Dofi for sure. That we've seen. 1 in top 8 and no progression from there. Blackbeard we finally have on the board here with 3. Right, we had 0 up here. Yeah. 3 on the board here, going to 1 and then going to 0. Lucci with 3, continuing all the way. So these dudes rode it.
Those guys definitely fought the other 7 Dofi players, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like that's definitely.
And then we saw what happened to them in top. Top 8.
Where they had to cannibalize each other. So.
Yes. And got cannibalized by the BY Luffy. BY Luffy, of course, 4, 3, 1, and then Cross AI winning with the 1 up in the top. So Cross the only one progressing in top 8, and of course making out the other side. P Luffy with 4 going to 3, 2. So pretty reasonable conversion here for the P Luffy players coming through. And Bonnie with a 3, 1, 1 against that one Bonnie player just locking in.
Yeah.
Locking in for that prizing.
Couldn't find the BY Luffy though. Couldn't find it.
I think what I like here is like we're seeing the uptick of not only did we see Blackbeard make the top cut, but we also saw it go head to head with a very diverse pool from here, where we're like, we know the Blackbeard player is good, we know the other players are good, and we know it's not just feeding off matchups. Obviously, losing 2 of them in the first top cut, not ideal, but seeing it progress through such a high field to here and then make it even out of this, showing that we're slowly learning, we're progressing, and figuring out like what's in the format, what we gotta deal with. I also, if I'm not mistaken, I think that like the other 2 had like Shanks and something else. Like I had like 2 of the worst matchups I could get out of here. I forget. I did see the tournament report of 2 of them come through, and I was like, oh, that's just unfortunate.
Shanks and Dofi, right? It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Or Ploofy. That might be.
I mean, there were 11 Dofis, so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then moving on to Latin America Nationals.
My
no
goat.
registration data.
My goat.
No top 32 data.
Yep.
Shanks, of course, taking that one, God's Chosen.
Yep.
All the way through. Dofi with 6-3, keeping that 50% conversion rate back up that we lost at English Nationals, but no win. BY Luffy 5-2, coming up, ticking up here real good. P Luffy 2-1, Bonnie 1-0, and NL 1-8, 1-1 between top 16 and top 8. Big event for Luke and Luke believing, you know?
Yeah, honestly. So it looks like my GOAT got 2 wins so far.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I also did watch this one. I did watch the Latin America games, and I do know that Dofi was the opposing player to the Shanks, and it did just feel like that this player made a huge meta call, and was very, very, just built a deck for Dofi, so it felt like it, so.
Yeah, he definitely did the work, took the gamba, and it paid off. So for Taco Oceania Nationals, we just got done with. Shanks, 1 in top 32, couldn't make its way out. Dofi, over 50% conversions here, not from into top cut, but within top cut. 9-32, 5-16, 3-8, and of course, finally winning his first event of the format, getting his flowers. Blackbeard's back again, 3 in top 32, 1 in top 16, ending its run there. Lucci, 4-1, that one player making it to the top 8, but not progressing forward. So we're seeing a little more counterbalancing in feels. Here's the real thing. BY Luffy, 7-5-2-0.
That's ridiculous.
The deck is just so good.
Yeah.
It's insane. You just have to dodge like in terms of like decks that should actually be competing, where it's like you take this deck and you're like, cool, I have a good percentage choice of making top cut, and not just like I have to see matchups and I'm rolling my die roll all day, right? You just have to dodge. Not even Dofi. Like Dofi's like, I keep telling people, Dofi is not that as good a match as you think it is. Like the Blackbeard, like 2-drop plays into it a little bit better. But like, you really just gotta dodge like Bonnie, the P Luffy player, depending on their build.
Yeah, and the one Blackbeard player.
Yeah, and the one Blackbeard set of Blackbeards in the room. Otherwise,
is the Blackbeard in the room with us right now?
Apparently not. P Luffy 2-2-1, making it through pretty tight there. Bello Betty taking a top 32 at Oceania, of course, also made a top 64 Nationals.
This person watched our video for sure.
And didn't make the run. NL 1-1, making it all the way to top 16. Nami 2 in top 32, but couldn't squeeze their way out. I want to know what the breakdown was here, where they played and lost 2 in top cut. I would love to see that. And Boa Hancock, finally, the Boa believers were in our comments before, and I think we at least talked about it like properly, where we put it and why we did. But Boa 2-1, making it all the way to top 8, and I've seen the buyouts happening. People are ready, people are excited. It obviously gets way better in O10, which is like what we talked about as well.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm surprised seeing even just 2 of them here, just because of the fact that like it is the more control spectrum of Dofi, which means you want to see a tighter field typically instead of a wider field. And you could tell this top cut, this top 32, very diverse. The event must have still been very diverse. So for 2 to make it here is a huge, like, hats off to the players and their skill and how they chose to go about building the deck. And definitely not luck-based. Definitely like more skill-based than anything.
This is 100% skill-based, because I think making the Boa call into this format where everybody wants to go control and very, like, especially Shanks, right?
Yeah.
Where swinging tall actually matters more than it does swinging wide and peppering your opponent with attacks a lot of times, could really help out. That's why P Luffy does really, really well in Shanks. That's why P Luffy does really, really well into a lot of the other control decks where you can punch up before they can take control of the board, right? And I think Boa is the blue equivalent of that. And being able to get the draw off like that and getting that card selection, just being able to control it that way is a really, really cool meta call, especially I'm not familiar with this region, so it is fun to watch that it's happening.
Which leads us to all the decks that topped across all 5 of these events. These are top 16 breakdowns because not every event had top 32, but across 5 OP09 events, 30 top 16s were Dofi. Also, what is that? 60, 80 decks? 80 decks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 30 of those 80 were Dofi, 15 were BY Luffy, 13 were P Luffy, 6 were Lucci, 4 were Shanks, 4 were Bonnie, 2 were Blackbeard, 2 were Enel, and we have Nami, Boa, RP Luffy, and Smoker bringing up the rear. Smoker will not progress, neither will Blackbeard. We have RP Luffy, Boa, Nami, and NL still making top 16, top 8. 2 Bonnies, 3 Shanks, 4 Lucci, 6 P Luffy, 5 BY Luffy, 15 Dofi. And across winners, we have 2 Dofis, 1 BY Luffy, and 2 Shanks, battling it out for the most winners. Now, this is the point where I'm usually like conversion rates. Conversion rates are the number of decks registered in an event divided over the number of copies of that deck that made top cut. So you can see if I'm 1 out of X players, what's the percentage chance that I'm going to end up actually topping with this deck, assuming that I play it to the fullest, right? I do everything right still. Well, unfortunately, we have one event with registration data, so we can only look at the one. And it's the first event of the format, so in my opinion, it actually is the most useless top cut conversion. But if you care, the highest percentage top cut data from the Booster Box Online Treasure Cup, Regional Treasure Cup, Treasure Cup,
yes,
was BY Luffy coming at 25 registered, 2 in top 32, which gave it 8% conversion rate, as we went over earlier. P Luffy with 142 decks registered and 9 in top 32 for 6.34. Dofi, 231, even though it has the most top cuts at 13, still comes out to a lower percentage point at 5.63. Bonnie, 31 decks in the event, 1 top cut, 3.23. Lucci, 65 registered and 2 top cut for 3.08. Shanks, 143 registered, 3 in top cut plus the winner, but it doesn't give it a bonus, so 2.1. Other decks, which was just the 2 smokers here, as noted, 224 and 2 smokers puts us at 1.61, and everything else registered getting 0% conversion to the top cut.
I want to say I'm like surprised, but I'm really not. I'm more surprised about where Dofi ended up, but I guess that is attributed to the amount of Dofi registered, right? So
yeah, I mean, I just feel like this data is pretty useless to look at when it's one event, but
it's kind of a wash.
It's kind of expected. This is like the most useful thing we have to come out of here with. And of course, with this, it is time to reformat our tier list. So we've already put Bello in the road category. We get it. We get it.
We were wrong.
You've seen the thumbnail. You've seen the uploads. If you haven't, go check them out. We got it. All right. Moving other things around, let's start from the top column down. Regional winning. Unfortunately, gotta take P Luffy out of there. It's doing great in top cutting. It's doing fantastic in top cutting, but it has not broken through yet. And I think part of the reason is Blackbeard is underperforming, and the current versions of it are built to be Dofi, particularly because there's so many. And I think there's a lot of concessions to losing now the BY Luffy match, which is winnable in my opinion. But the way they're building it to have to beat Dofi and Shanks is not allowing them to build it to beat BY Luffy.
Like we're taking out laws, right? For example.
Yeah, for example, like, I mean, some still play it, but like, I think most people who are getting those top cuts are really leaning into other tools. Also, like leaning into the mid-range gameplay more than like the super top end gameplay, right? That really helps against BY Luffy. Blackbeard, listen, it's not happening. It's not happening. 10 is gonna be crazy. But it ain't happening.
I might not even put it in top cutting, honestly. I might put it in rogue, because based off of the conversion rates, well, you know what? I lied. It did top 216 events.
It tops 3 every time on the back 3, if I'm not mistaken. But also, like, I think it just pairs so well power level into a lot of the lower decks that I don't think I can put it at rogue.
That's fair.
Just simply, like, I think it's at the bottom of top cutting, but I don't think I can put it any lower just because, like, okay, yes, it doesn't have the top cuts, like, in terms of the full numbers yet, but think of how many good matchups it has within the top cuts still, like, and I think it's a lot more of the die roll of the matchups more than anything. And how good it is against, like, BY Luffy, which is a deck we have to now push up. Who had this, me or you?
In top cutting?
Yeah, who was assigned this one? Because I feel like I really believed in this being winning still. And I think I was like, we settled in top cutting, and I feel very validated. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Chat, roll the tape back, but
roll the tape.
I'm pretty sure in my head, I thought that this was either top cutting or regional winning. I think that we bumped it down to top cutting in the event that we saw more Blackbeard.
That's probably what happened. In the top cutting category, Bonnie, deserved. Lucci, deserved. RP Luffy in the rogue, not doing as much as I hope, but still there. Still showing I was right and this deck has some gas in it.
Top 8.
Yes, but it's just one. It was just one. So I can't put it in top cutting by the rules. Because this is about consistency. We're trying to get on the marker overall.
I mean, the one player consistently won his event.
The one thing I will argue is that we have a solid 4 here, really, really integral, as well as the fact that like Black has sussed out a good leader still. That Lucci is still in this, whether it's from the lack of Blackbeard players or the fact that we/Japan misestimated how good Lucci still is into the Blackbeard matches you do have to play, that you can still take this outcome of an event. I don't know which it is, but it's exciting to see that like there's still gas in this deck, even though I really hate it. Just for diversity's sake.
I mean.
All right, time to start plugging through some rogues here. So first, let's start with the ones that we know we can keep on top. RP Luffy, Bello can stay here.
Yeah.
Smoker can stay here.
Surprisingly, right?
He gets an invite to the cookout.
Yeah.
I did call that one of these black decks was saying the other ones would go. We're about to see what happens. Nami?
Are you allowed to pass out invites to the cookout?
Oh well, this is when I say cookout. Sorry, this is an inside joke with some other people.
Got it.
Where cookout is actually just come play board games with me.
Okay.
Like it's like the autistic cookout. It's not like
It's not like
I just realized I can't.
actual.
It's because I'm hanging out with you, and I'm like, yeah, I'm hanging out with my friend. It's like, oh, I should probably quantify this joke, you know? Yeah.
Please don't actually cook us for that one. I'm sorry.
I might take that one out.
Take that one out.
But yeah, Smoker in the rogue category. Nami also in the rogue category. NL making it to the rogue category.
Somehow
Made it through at the end.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw, Red Sanji made top 64 at Oceania.
I did see that. I'm
keeping him in here, buddy.
It makes sense to me.
I'm keeping him in.
It makes sense to me. I don't know if I want to move Zoro out of that just because I could see Sanji performing. And there was something in Europe recently where there was a Zoro build slapped into Shanks' leader body. So,
yeah, the inverse of the Skrull Shanks.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think that when you play Zoro, it telegraphs it too hard. I think like maybe stays at locals might be there.
Yeah. So we can assess power levels, right? Yeah. So for instance, all the black decks go down that aren't Smoker. That's exactly what I predicted I would do, and I feel like this is the fairest thing to do. It is true. Marco, I still think it has some really good matchup potential and power. This is one I wasn't really sure about going into this meta, and I think I've really seen enough to be confident in how its performance is going, and that it should be a continued part of the format. Vegapunk I'm really disappointed with. Just because like you would think you would see one in Top Cut just from all the Dofis being played.
Yeah.
I think the bigger problem is it doesn't have like, it needs, I don't know like what it needs, but it needs something that's like more generic top end.
It needs some truthers, to be honest. Like I think it just needs some pilots. I don't know what the other looks like in that one event.
Yeah.
But I
how many?
Probably not that many. I feel like more Foxy than there would be Vegapunk. Right?
Foxy, get out of here. I believed in you so much. Reiju, I think, I want to make an argument that Reiju should be in Rogue still. I feel like this is an underpiloted deck, and the power level of how it plays in the decks like I've seen Shanks and Dofi shows. It even has BY Luffy mirror, like, or BY Luffy matchup points, depending on how you build this deck, without like conceding too much to these other top decks.
So long as you slap a pudding in there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this is like the current, like this feels very like OG Zoro, where you're just kind of always all in. But it does all in such a good way that I don't know. I'm down to knock it down. I do feel like this is, I don't know if we're gonna do a Vegapunk yet, but I do feel like this deck is like stronger than most Stays at Locals decks by far. Well, Dofi disappointed me, so down here. I have some cooks though. I'm gonna bring this on the stream soon.
I felt that would be a Stay at Locals.
I have, okay, well, get ready for stream night soon, so I got some heat.
You'll just blindside me and then
hey,
we'll play.
Guess what?
We'll run it back.
Let's get your boy out of here.
That also belongs there. That does belong there. Correct. Yes.
Red Zoro.
I
think it's a Reiju problem where I feel like I put it in Stays at Locals, and it just mops like 90% of this.
That's where I'm at.
Not even close.
That's where I'm at too.
So I feel like it just on power level has to stay up here.
It feels like cope. I don't know.
Whereas Vegapunk, I'm gonna put Stays at Local because I feel like this is the baseline, right? Vegapunk still gets trashed by 50% of this Stays at Locals. So, even like the bad ones, is because of how their mechanics work. Black Purple Luffy is an interesting one.
I want to, because
I want to believe it's kind of like Marco for me. Where like I'm seeing enough where I'm like, this deck's got the juice.
Yeah.
But it's a matchup. It's a matchup mechanically plus committed pilots issue.
I do want to believe in it because of specifically one player who has begun showing up at locals. And the thing is, like, I know what the solution to this deck is. I know what the solution is, and I know what I have to do to play into it. I just don't have the strength to, you know what I mean? But like, and that being anything with early aggression, fast aggression beats the crap out of this deck, right? Which happens to be the one in the first regional winning spot.
Yeah.
So, it's a little hard. It's a little hard. With as many Doflamingos running around, it feels difficult. But I'm sure that a seasoned pilot for this deck would tell you, oh, I can handle Doflamingo anytime, right? So, I don't know. I think it stays here. To be honest.
Yeah, I think it does too.
Yeah.
Moving in some upgrades. Boa Hancock Force has to go into Rogue.
Yeah.
Gotta come up here, Queen.
Yep.
I want to make an argument.
Mm-hmm. Don't touch her. I feel like you're. Yeah. I'm watching. You're gonna stop right there. Oh.
I want to make an argument.
I guess that's the other one.
This deck is more real than I think it is. I think it suffers from the Vegapunk problem, though, is the thing at the end of the day. I just want to like kind of highlight it, where it's like I feel like it has the power level of these decks, but it has just some really bad mechanical mismatches. I think I was too hard on this going in, especially someone that was hyped to play this deck. And the sauce kind of figured out, but it's a very linear sauce. It's a linear sauce in the same way NL is very linear. But the problem is NL inherently does a way more broken thing being linear just on its face of its card than Robin does. So that's where the problem lies. I will say right now, OP10 Yellow Kid is a game changer. Game changer for this leader, brother.
Unfortunately, we're in 09, so
we'll get back to that.
We'll get back to
next
that.
set.
Yeah. I do think that turning the game into Digimon or any other Bandai card game as your effect is very strong.
That doesn't mean anything to me. This means nothing to me.
Where you trash your life.
Oh, you just said Gundam.
I said any other Bandai game.
Oh, well, I only know 2 other games, brother.
There you go. So, like, I think that's inherently strong. I think that all it needs is a couple of things and a couple of cards, and it will be strong. So, likewise for that one that you're hovering on, I
wasn't even hovering. I'm just autistically moving the mouse.
I am very that one when EBO2 comes out.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
So I have one more adjustment I would like to make to this list. If we are okay with it.
Yes.
I would like to, and I can't believe I'm saying this. I would like to propose that Monkey D. Garp get moved to Meh. Only because it can eat a Dofi deck. Purely off winning die roll onto the proper curve, playing 2-drop Garp on curve, into every turn, equip, smashing, popping over and over again, until they then resolve Jack, and then they're jacking you every turn because you're already behind on 0 board. For that reason alone, I have to get it out of unplayable. Because I almost got cooked by it, and I've seen other people get cooked by it. So I'm gonna show a little bit of respect that it can beat one of the best decks in the format, like Vegapunk.
I think with that endorsement, it should be at the bottom of Stays at Locals.
No, because it's like only that matchup.
Really?
I haven't seen it do buttons against most other things that matter.
Is the pop effect from the leader?
The leader, every time you touch a Dawn, you can reduce a cost 7 or less, I believe, by 1 Dawn.
Yeah, and then the Garp
then the Garp is a 0 pop when attacking 2 Dawn, pop a 0. So you play the Garp on 2.
Yeah.
You equip 4 Dawn onto it. You -4 the active character, let's say the Jinbei. You -4 the active thing you played off Jinbei. And then you swing 7/5 into the rest of the character while popping the active.
That seems really good into Blackbeard.
But Blackbeard doesn't care. I don't think Blackbeard really cares.
Because you want the early aggro onto Blackbeard's life, so like.
But you have to see, the thing is you have to see the Garp. Like,
yeah,
I agree,
Garp, right?
But it's not better than Matt. Because you basically, you have to just play 2-drop Garp. Like, if they just play Kobe on me on curve, I just don't care.
Okay.
But if they have to play, stick the 2 Garp, like, the worst thing they can do is like, stick the 2 Garp plus blocker and then start blocking on the 2-drop Garp, but I try to swing into it with just my leader, right?
Yeah.
That's where it really hurts.
I see.
But I just want to show some respect.
Yeah.
Listen, we like to have fun here, and sometimes when we have fun, people's feelings get hurt. So, respectfully, like Bella Betty, when I gotta eat some crow or some Karasu, I'm gonna eat some crow. And I'm gonna say that Monkey D. Garp is meh.
And then I'm going to go ahead and move Buggy over down to unplayable.
What? Unplayable?
I think that this is not a real
Not
deck.
even because it can cook Blackbeard?
No.
No?
No.
Well,
because,
I feel like by that standard, I should take the Garp back out.
Oh, well, I see. Fine. Fine. Well, here's the thing. Garp can cook a regional winning deck. Buggy can cook a top cutting deck, so by the levels of them.
But I think Buggy can still cook, even without the promo, I think Buggy can still cook the O10 Blackbeard. Like, I don't think the tools in O10 change that Buggy cooks it.
No, 100%.
And then it's a regional winning deck, and it's the difference of, like, 1 card, right? 2 cards? Sorry, 2 cards?
It's a difference of 4 cards, basically, right?
You got Sokka.
Uh-huh.
The event. Oh, not Sokka. Kuzan.
It's Kuzan.
The event.
Okay.
Like the double popper.
Yes.
And is there anything else it gets?
No, sorry. I see what you're... I was thinking of it as in terms of, like, play sets, but yeah.
No. It starts like unique cards, like, you know.
I'm not looking at O10 right now. I'm looking at O9.
Listen, doesn't this look really cool when they just stare at each other like this? Don't you want to see this?
He just looks really grossed out. You know?
Yeah, that's me when I see you put down on Buggy deck.
I guess so.
Yeah.
God, I wish that deck was real.
I did just buy my 1 poster Buggy and Luffy, so I have the set coming in the mail.
Oh, very cool.
Very hyped to have all those. Cool. But everyone else watching, that is our OP09 check-in. Let's see how long this remains. We have a few events coming up. Treasure Cups this upcoming weekend, which should be out in time for the upcoming weekend. All the way up through Bandai. Sorry, not Bandai, just One Piece Day. Just One Piece Day. Bandai's there. Dallas, yeah. We will be there as well, shooting content and competing in the regional pods. So if you see us there, make sure to say hi. We're going to be cooking up a bunch of fun stuff for you guys. We have tons of content coming down the pipeline. So if you want content up to 2 weeks early and early access to our videos, like our members on screen right now, thank you so much for supporting the channel. You can become a member, get content up to 2 weeks early, helps us support the channel, helps us pay our brand new editor we're working with, and do lots of fun stuff. We keep saying we're cooking. We've been cooking just like content coming out regularly. We have 2 heater videos shot in post, and we have another heater coming up afterwards.
Yeah.
Just trust the process. Trust. And we're doing Gundam content because Luke was really into Gundam. Check out the channel. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. We'll see you on the next one.